Good morning, everyone. I am going to call this meeting to order. May we have a roll, please?
Callie Mayfam.
A public member present.
Tanya Fairley.
Industry member present.
Danielle Munoz.
Present.
Megan Ellis.
Public member present.
Kelly Funk.
Industry member present.
Reese Isbell.
Here.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez.
Public member present.
Colette Kavanaugh. Tamika Miller.
Industry member present.
Danielle Munoz. Oh, sorry. Steve Weeks.
Public member present.
Sorry.
It's our first time.
Thank you. So we have a quorum. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, for joining us today for our last meeting of 2024. Wow, how the time goes. Okay, I'm going to move on to item number 3. Do we have any board member updates, anything that the board members would like to share with today? All right, seeing none, let's move on to item number 4, a DCA update. Do we have Assistant Deputy Director Yvonne Durantes with us this morning? Hi, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Monday. Glad I'm up first. So thank you for having me, and happy to be here with all of you. I can't believe this is the last board meeting of the year.
Yes.
Still processing that it's November. So I'll go ahead and get started. So starting with our DEI update, our DCA, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee, did meet at the end of last month, and we are excited to announce its newly elected leadership, which includes Reggie Varghese, which is the Medical Board of California's Executive Director. He will be serving as our chair. And Marlon McManus will also be serving as our vice chair, and he is currently the Board of Behavioral Sciences Assistant Executive Officer. So we look forward to serving under their leadership, and look forward to assisting them with accomplishing many DEI initiatives. And I'm not sure if you recall, but I am currently the DEI Steering Committee Coordinator. So if you do have any questions or any suggestions, I'm also happy to either take them or answer any questions as well. So thank you for that. All right, moving on to our new unconscious bias training for board members. I am also excited to share that DCA is updating its current unveiling unconscious bias training to specifically focus on board members due to your critical roles and how unconscious bias can affect your decision-making authority. The training will be self-paced and available on DCA's online learning management system, and we anticipate launching this new training early in 2025. And so board members will be required to take this training annually. As a reminder, DCA offers over 20 online DEI training courses in its learning management system. And so while these training courses are not mandatory, we do strongly encourage that you take any of those. And as always, I'm also happy to assist with any logging in issues for LMS. If you forgot your login or your password, I am happy to assist with that. Moving on to our military licensing resources webinar. So to support and maximize outreach to our military community, DCA is hosting a second live webinar on November 21st of this year to share information about military licensing resources. During the webinar, attendees will learn about licensing resources available to members of the military and their spouses or domestic partners. The webinar will also feature demonstration of DCA's federal professional license portal and state registration process, which was launched last fall, as well as a Q&A session. And webinar details are available online at dca.ca.gov/military. Moving on to new business and travel expense reimbursement program. The state's Department of Human Resources, also known as CalHR, recently released an updated travel policy to align with the federal policies outlined by the U.S. General Services Administration. Effective October 1st of this year, DCA will use the federal standard meals and incidental expense rates for in-state and out-of-state travel. DCA will also use the federal standard and non-standard reimbursement lodging rates. And information on these changes was shared with board members and board leaders at the end of September. So, but board members are encouraged to become familiar with the new travel expense reimbursement program and rates. If you do have any questions or missed that email, I'm happy to forward it or, work with you to answer any questions as well. And so since we are in November and we are in the season of giving, we are officially and honored to join the annual charitable campaigns that are launching this month, including DCA's annual turkey drive and the state's Our Promise campaign. So the turkey drive is happening on November 13th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And board members and employees will have the opportunity to give back to the community as we hold the third annual turkey drive, with donations benefiting Joey's Food Locker. It is a local food bank located near DCA headquarters in Sacramento, and donations of frozen turkeys and non-perishable food items will be accepted at DCA headquarters, bar headquarters, and Evergreen building locations in Sacramento. So that's the Natomas location, the Rancho Cordova location, and then the Arden location. For more information on how to participate or donate, please feel free to reach out to your executive officer or myself. And lastly, as I just mentioned, there's also the Our Promise campaign launch, which is the State Employees Giving at Work campaign. And every year through the Our Promise campaign, state employees join this charitable campaign, including board members who have the opportunity to support a nonprofit of your choice. And nonprofits that you may be passionate about or may want to make donations to. These contributions have a positive impact on our communities, and it is another way for us to show how much we care about California. This year's campaign lead is Monica Vargas, Deputy Director of Communications, alongside Karen Navarro, Assistant Deputy Director of Communications. And the official campaign launch is on November 18th, and it'll run through December 31st. So in the meantime, if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer that as well. But that's all the updates I have for you today.
Thank you so much for that update. Are there any questions from our board?
Oh, yes. Just a comment that for those of you in Sacramento area, if you're interested in donating a turkey, you will see Carrie and I, because every year we go out.
Will you be dressed as a turkey?
We are always in some form of decoration. And it's also a competition between the buildings, and we want to win.
Good to know. So in other words, it doesn't matter where you are, get it together.
Is that up and running now? When do the donations start to be accepted?
You got to drop, if you want to do a turkey, you drop it off that morning
Oh,
to us. We'll come to your car
okay.
in half costumes.
November 13th.
The 13th.
Yeah.
8 to 10 thing.
Yeah.
Don't forget to bring your microphones back when you're speaking.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
If
anything
there
else?
are any other non-perishable items, and for some reason you're not able to drop them off on the 13th, we're happy to coordinate with you. So we can drop those off for you as well if you want to.
Because did I mention I want to win?
So if you have something that you're going to donate, you can bring it to our office. So
I
we
can come to your
pool it
house.
together with all of our office items that we're going to donate.
Okay. Message received. We're trying to win. Thank you very much, Deputy Director Durantes. Happy holidays.
Did anyone mention that my birthday was this month also? Just in case. Okay.
Happy birthday.
You
Okay,
win.
that goes under board member update, so let's put that in the minutes. Happy birthday, Vice President Tanya Fairley. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5, we have our minutes from the August 12th, 2024 board meeting. Do any board members have any comments or edits to those board minutes? If none, let's take a second, and if none, can I get a motion to approve those minutes and a second? And your motion has to mention August 12th, 2024.
I move to approve the minutes from August 12th, 2024.
Thank you, Vice
second.
President Fairley. And then second from Dr. Jimenez. Thank you. Okay, let's move to public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this item? And just a reminder for housekeeping, we are limiting public comment to 3 minutes for each agenda item. 3 minutes per speaker. All right, I'm seeing no members of the public who wish to speak on this item. May we call a roll call for voting?
Callie Maytham,
Yes?
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Danielle Munoz,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
Steve Weeks.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. So motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 6, meeting dates, proposed meeting dates and locations for 2025. That's it. That is tab 6 of our packet. Did everyone get a chance to look at these dates? Are there any concerns, anything that jumps out at you? Otherwise, these will be the dates. Oh, one moment for
Has
council.
any strong concerns?
I just have a question because I see board meeting dates, but I don't see committee
No.
meeting dates.
Because we do those sort of as needed.
Okay.
But we will be putting those together, and we'll have them at our next meeting.
Can we kind of look to put them in coincide with the committee dates instead of having them on separate Mondays?
Like same day?
Yes.
We could, and we have done that in the past. Sabina, I would ask if on the same day, can a committee make a recommendation to the board that happens that same day?
They're welcome to make a recommendation, however, it would have to be on the board meeting agenda ahead of time.
Got it.
Okay.
I think we can do that.
You can anticipate it.
Right.
And you can always strike an item.
Right.
If you don't
Okay.
have a recommendation.
We will put a calendar together for that then.
Okay.
Christine, on the 2 Southern Californias, does that mean a Los Angeles regional and a San Diego regional?
If the airport's done in San Diego.
Good luck with that.
We would be, I
That
guess
is
we would be in San Diego
Our goal
right
is
now.
usually one in LA and one in San Diego.
All right, anything else from the board members? All right, I think those dates look good. Christy, thank you, and Sabina? All right, and they're fine with council. Great. Okay, moving on to agenda item number.
Sorry, it's me.
Agenda item number 7. 6. Oh,
No, sir.
oh, sorry, it's like listed above the 7. Is it numbered wrong? I think the numbering is off. Because this should be 6, then this should be 8 then. Okay. Unnumbered item between 6 and 7, executive management reports.
It's correct on the board.
It's correct. Yeah, mine is correct too.
Oh, I see, okay. Apologize for that. All right, moving on to number 7, executive management reports. Christy, take it away.
So we start with our administration operations report. It shows that we have 5 positions in that unit and 1 vacant. That position has actually been filled, so we do not have any vacant positions in this unit. James Zimmerman has been promoted to our licensing and operations chief. He was our prior licensing manager, one of our licensing managers. And so we have recently refilled that. We have a new person starting middle of this month. We've listed some information just to show about our staff training that we've done within our office. We've worked with Solid, who's the DCA training unit, And we've done de-escalation tactics for difficult situations, and we've done importance of using inclusive language. And this is we do for our entire staff. And so we try to do that quarterly with some type of training that's offered through our through Solid, through DCA. We have our budget, which is standard information still. Our budget is obviously good.
Is that a technical term? Yeah.
Can I ask a question, just quickly on the budget? I assume the budget, nowhere in this budget is inclusive of the $106,000 for the mailer.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other question I have for you, how many boards actually operate with a surplus?
Well,
Are we unusual in that?
we definitely have a high surplus. And I would say, I'm not positive, Sabina, I don't know if you have more. I think most boards, some boards struggle. Some boards are really tiny.
Yeah.
And so they struggle. Some of the big boards are actually struggling. And so they've had to do, there's been several fee increases over DCA in the last couple of years to make sure their funds stay in the black. But we don't have that problem.
It seems like what traditionally saves us as far as budget surplus is the fact that we aren't outrageous in annual licensing fees. It's just our sheer number that drives us in that.
Exactly.
Okay. And in the calendar year 24-25, I noticed there's a $25,000 transfer. Is that the loan that we made to the general fund?
Yes.
And we made a total loan of 25 million?
That 25 is 25 million.
Okay, so we pay that, that's being paid back, are we giving that money to them in the 25,000 a year, or are we being repaid?
It's scheduled for a loan repayment.
And
The
typically
25 is from several years ago, and we're scheduled to get that back in the 24-25 fiscal year.
the principal.
Right.
Okay, so this is not unusual that we do this and the money goes out the fund when it's necessary.
Right.
Okay.
All right, moving on to licensing. That shows that we currently have 19 positions allocated, and we had one vacancy. At the time of this report, that vacancy is gone. Our licensing division is completely staffed, which is the first time probably, and I'm not even sure ever, if we've ever been fully staffed. So we have our examination information on here, our pass rates. We're doing a comparison of 2023 to 2024. On our next page, we're talking about our emails. We were looking to add 4 what we call limited term people to build this email phone unit. The positions have been very hard to fill, but we do have 2 of those positions filled right now. So they're in training. They just started about a week ago. Once their training is done, they'll be dedicated to emails. Because we have to spread out the emails so far. Now, being fully staffed, on this notice, we were answering emails within 3 days. For the past, 2 weeks, we're pretty much within 24 hours. And so fully staffed really made a huge difference in our workload. Our applications are, if you're applying online, especially for like a re-exam, they're getting done within days. And obviously, paper applications take longer. Everybody should apply online, but some people still don't like to. Yes, Sonia?
So I have a question then. So considering now that you're fully staffed, is there still a need for the other 2 for the email
Yes.
positions?
Because right now, what we have to do, we still get several hundred emails a day. And we take those emails and we spread them out amongst staff, so they're not processing work that they should be processing. So we have our emails, and then paper applications are taking about 4 weeks to process, because it takes, when you send in your paper application, we still get a huge volume of paper, and so it has to go through first the mailroom, which takes about 5 days. Then it goes through the DCA cashiering unit, and it could take 1 to 2 weeks there. And then it gets brought up to us, and we try to process those in the date they're received. So again, you're wiping out all that time if you apply online. So hopefully people, we just have a lot of people in our industry that prefer paper. So moving on to page 6 is our first quarter's statistics for licensing. The next page is 7. You can stop me if you have any questions. Is our exam pass rates. Our overall exam pass rates are looking better every week. First-time test takers definitely do better than re-exam test takers. We are finding the quicker somebody takes their test right after school, the better. And unfortunately, some want to wait. And so then we are seeing that distance between graduation and taking the test, there is a difference in the pass-fail rates. Moving on to page 9, that's our exam results by program. So we have our apprentice program at the top. We'll talk about the apprentice program in just a few minutes. We have our out-of-country, and then we have our traditional school programs. The traditional school programs continue to do better than, of course, our apprentice and our out-of-country. And then we separate it by language. Still working on Spanish. We believe a lot of those are apprentices, and I'll give you an update on that in just a minute when we get to our enforcement section. So now...
Yes, Chrissy. So we've talked a lot about working with the exam vendor to improve the questions, especially obviously for Spanish speakers. Is the vendor constantly changing the questions? Are they constantly getting better, or are they preparing kind of a comprehensive update, or what's the status of that?
So the exam doesn't change until they do read developments of the exam, but they have banks of questions, and those are changing. But they're still from the same group of questions that during the development that they chose. We are working with the exam vendor to look at different types of translations, more of like a Spanish American or Spanish Californian translation. They are working on that actively right now. And then we've also met with apprentice programs and their local education authorities and have provided the translation guide, because we think that's not getting out to people, and if they had that's like a cheat sheet ahead of time, so you can look at exactly how those words are translated. So that is hopefully going to make things a little bit better as well.
Thank you for that, Christine.
Just a question. Just a quick question. On out-of-country schools, it looks like in the Chinese language we have a disproportionately high number there, 478, and the next closest to that is English at 47.
Where are you looking, Steve?
What page?
I'm on page 11. Am I reading that's out-of-country schools by language?
That's impossible. So that is obviously an error.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I was like, wait, what? You looking at the cosmetology?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will double check why that.
No problem.
I'm going to guess that Chinese and English might have gotten swapped.
Yeah.
I don't think we had 478. We'll fix it. Sorry about that.
No problem.
All right, moving on to page 12. And after the first table is our school programs by language. So you can see how the language is playing out in for people that actually took it went to school in California. That's our school programs.
That is, the Chinese for out of country is consistent with what we have reported in the past, because that is a high percentage of our out of country, yes. Yes.
So that's an accurate number?
This is correct in the board meeting packet.
Okay. So we do have a very large proportion of Chinese language
Out of country, yes.
out of country.
Yes,
Is this for a year, or is this for a 3-month period?
This is a 3-month period, correct?
that's correct. Mhm. We only offer the link, yeah, but it is consistent with what we've reported in the past.
We'll double check those numbers.
Okay, what countries would that be? I mean, the Chinese, would they be coming from
Yes, we have yes, from China, yeah.
from actually China?
All right, we're on page 15. Licenses issued for the last 5 years, just information for you. This quarter, we've already issued a little over 11,000 licenses. Our next, page 16, is our license population. So we're at 647,465 licenses in California. And then our next couple of pages are the survey that is done at the time of renewal. So it asks if they are independent contractors or if they're an employee. So you can see on page 18. And the chart on page 18 is interesting because there's a large portion, 32.28% of people that answered the survey that are not working in the industry. So they have their license valid, but they're not actually working in the industry. 35.8% are independent contractors, 23% are employees, and then 8.78% are actual owners of their salons.
On this, sorry, Christy. On this, does it indicate, or does it differentiate between a salon owner or suite owners? Are they all?
It would all be considered salon owners.
Okay. And would that differentiate between independent contractor and salon owner too?
No.
Okay.
All right, moving on to page 19 is the additional questions that we asked, the employment status, full-time, not working again, and part-time in the industry. So that's interesting. 31% of the responses say that they're part-time and 30% are full-time. And then you have your 2.3% of full-time outside of California. And so moving on, unless there's any questions, the last on page 20 is licensees identified as part-time, and 61% of those licensees are independent contractors, which of course might change come January 1. We'll talk about in a little bit.
That's great.
The next page is our disciplinary review committee. We do not have any vacancies in this unit. We have 114 pending in the south, 56 pending in the north. We are looking to hold a DRC in January.
February.
February.
It just seems.
But it would be 2 days, so we just need to confirm.
Yeah.
If we can do 2 days.
Yeah, I thought I answered.
Okay.
Monica, didn't I answer?
I can check.
Okay. So that'll take care of those southern, well, LA ones. And then we'll probably next be looking at a time in the future for Sacramento. And then, of course, you have your DRC charts. And then we move on to page 23, which is our enforcement report. We do have 2 vacant positions in enforcement. I think that's not true, though, because I believe those were 2 that we're losing. Oh, no, you're right. They're on hold. They're on hold. We did have the vacancy sweep, so we are still waiting to get final confirmation from the Department of Finance because The governor has an order that we did a vacancy sweep at a certain point in time, and we will likely lose 4 positions. That's what we're projecting. And so those are not listed on here, though. Those 2 are actual vacant positions. And so we're showing our probation cases first. Our Attorney General's office, we have submitted more cases than normal to the Attorney General's office. We had an increase of 44%, which from the previous quarter, there were 38 cases, and this quarter we referred 55 cases. So these are usually either unlicensed cases or consumer harm cases.
Question, my last question, I promise. Yeah, I noticed we have total establishments of about 59,000.
Yes.
We have the number of inspections last year at about 8,000. So we're inspecting about 1.3% of our licensee population. Is that, I'm not great on statistics, is that statistically accurate? Is that?
For the number of inspectors we have, yes.
Yeah. Should we be looking at additional inspectors, or is this?
We can, especially now that we are finally fully staffed in our inspector positions. It has not, that has also not happened for a very, very long time. They're very hard positions to fill. So it's hard to ask for new positions when you have vacant positions, right? Because to ask for new positions, we have to do what's called a budget change proposal. It goes through the Department of Finance, it goes through the legislature, we have to testify, which is fine, but this is the first time in a long time we have been fully staffed in our inspector positions. We have 2 inspectors literally starting today in Sacramento. They're actually for Southern California, but they go to Sacramento first. And so if we can maintain fully staffing, then we can, because the data is there to prove that we need more positions.
And we get buyout beyond the 1.3%. I mean, how many other salons you come into, oh, there's an inspector out, am I going to be inspected? So the word is out, obviously, the inspections happen. So everyone thinks, I think it's great.
And our inspectors have a system that on how they inspect as well. So if you were inspected last year, we're trying to get to the salons that haven't been inspected. And so they have a list of those salons that haven't been inspected based on certain time frames. And so those are the ones they try to get to. But consumer harm and consumer complaints are always the top priority. So if we're getting complaints, those are the ones they go to first. So sometimes it takes longer to get to the routine inspections because we might have, especially like in the LA area, where we have our most inspectors, they're handling what we call directed inspections every single day.
But if the inspectors are not inspecting what was inspected the year prior, actually that gives us a higher number percentage statistically of what we're hitting too.
You're talking to the wrong person about statistics, that's
Correct.
And those of us that are on the list of not being inspected appreciate not being inspected. I'm just saying.
All right,
That means
on
there's no
page
complaints.
24, we have an update on the apprentice program. We have been doing a lot of work on the apprentice program.
Thank you.
I might say unfunded work because it's involved myself, it's involved our enforcement manager, and now we have one of our special investigators going to be working on it. Because the more we look, the bigger it gets. The more issues we find. One of the things that we've done right now, which has been, I think we're headed in the right direction, is we're meeting with the LEAs, the local education authorities. And so we've talked about the apprentice program in the past. We have us, we have the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, and we have the local education authority. And the local education authority has the responsibility of overseeing what we call their related training hours. So they have to do 260-ish hours of what we call related training. So it's in a classroom, it's not in the salon. So we know they're going in the salon and we know they're doing the hands-on stuff. But when the theory is lacking. They're not passing the exam. And so we've met with 3 LEAs so far. It's been extremely productive. They had never looked at pass rates of their programs. And some of the programs have a lot of programs under them. So LAUSD has quite a few apprenticeship programs under their purview. We have San Joaquin County that has quite a few under them. And then we have a couple that just have one. Those are usually the ones doing great. Well, good. And so we've met with San Joaquin County, we've met with Hacienda La Puente, and we've met with, maybe when we did this, we only did Marysville. We met with Marysville, and they were all really, really well received. We provided them their pass rates of the programs they're responsible for the last 5 years. Or longer, maybe. We might have even gone back further, because we had a pandemic in the middle of that, and it messes up all our data. And they were super receptive to what we had to say. They were took our translation guides, because again, the apprentice program is predominantly Spanish-speaking people. And so we're hoping to build a better relationship with these LEAs to really improve the apprenticeship program. I think I've made no secret that I haven't been a big fan of the apprenticeship program, but in this last year, we've been attending some of their committee meetings. So each apprenticeship program has committee meetings, and it really changed my opinion. We have some programs out there that are really doing a good job and really care and really are doing exactly what they should be doing, and their pass rates show it. They're not 100% pass rate, but you don't expect that. But we do have some programs in like the 70%. So we are also working regularly with DAS. We talk to them almost weekly, if not daily. We have definitely taken some steps in doing some investigations on some of these programs that we feel are committing fraud. We recently notified almost 30 training facilities that they're calling themselves, that they can't be doing what they're doing, because what we found is happening is there are program sponsors that are basically letting people use their sponsor approval, and then they are operating as if their own apprentice program sponsor, but saying they're affiliated with an approved sponsor. So it would be like if I wanted to open an establishment and I'm going to use Tanya's establishment license number because I'm just affiliated with you. The students are contracting with these training facilities. The contract has their name on it. They have no idea that there's another apprentice program sponsor. These places are advertising on social media. And so we are taking steps to stop this process because we don't believe it is legal. We have notified the LEAs who are involved in that, because the LEAs have approved them as training facilities because they can do the related training. So that's okay, and they can be an apprenticeship program sponsor, because I shouldn't say most, I want to say almost, I would say all are licensed establishments. So when we go in, we see it as a licensed establishment, and there's apprentices working in there with trainers, and we think there's no problem. But what we don't realize is they're contracting with those students. These students are paying $9,000, $10,000, $11,000 to these places, and they're not falling under the DAS as an approved program sponsor, and they're not falling under the BPPE because they say they're a sponsor. So we've taken the position that you're borrowing somebody's approval code and have notified them that they cannot be doing this. We know we have some that are now wanting to become legitimate program sponsors. They have to get approved by DAS. We'll see if that happens. But it's definitely something that is ongoing, that we will have more as we work through this process on our results. That being said,
Well, good.
That's awesome.
All right, so we have our complaint intake numbers. We received 1,512 complaints in our first quarter. Then we have on the next page our tiny little chart that we'll make bigger for you next time. And that's just our different types of complaints that we received. You can see 32% is what we classify as health and safety. 42% is unlicensed activity. And then on the next 2 pages is our enforcement statistics. So kind of what we just talked about, but in chart form. And then next we have our inspections and site and fine and schools report. So we have our staff, we have 21 for our inspections unit, and it did say we had some vacancies. That is a 0 now. Then we have our site and fine unit. We have 2 listed there, and that's correct. We do have 2 vacancies in our site and fine unit. For our schools, we have 271 approved schools, and we have 18 open cases on those schools. We have a chart showing the extern program, and you can see that those numbers are going down. And the reason why those are probably going down is because we did some enforcement on finding cosmetology externs that were only being externs in a nail-only shop. And so we think we got that situation solved. The next page is our inspections and citation statistics. So it shows our citations and who each licensee that received a citation. It has our number of inspections. And then the bottom is our inspections out of business or closed on call. Closed on call is when the inspector shows up and it is closed for the day. These numbers are high. Closed on calls, ever since the pandemic, we have higher closed on calls than we have in the past. And it's really just because shops aren't open regular times anymore. I mean, they're closing more days than just, it used to be Sunday, Monday, we knew we'd have a lot of close, but now we're seeing it during the week as well. The next page is our citations with we compare that with the number of inspectors. So we had 16 inspectors in September of 2024, and that resulted in 779 inspections. We're fully staffed now, so we'll see those numbers go up. Inspection reports processed, so that's why our site and fine unit, who have actually processed those inspection reports, and then again, the number of citations issued. The next chart is our request for payment notices. We've done a grand total this fiscal year of 1,411 requests for payment notices. So those are people that hadn't paid their citations. And then the last page here is our payment plans. So the number of people that have requested payment plans and how many we've gone through with and what is owed. All right, and our next is our outreach update. We have done some events. We did Face and Body Skincare Trade Show and Nail Pro. That's a combined show between Nail Pro and Face and Body. That was September 8th and 9th. We did the Jazzy Beauty and Barber Show in October in Pomona. And then just this weekend, some of us did the Electrology Association convention that was down in San Diego. Yes, we've been here for a few days. We've showed our listservs that are going out. Listservs is our mass mailings to, mass emails to the different groups. We have that. We have our social media posts. As you know, we did not include the social media posts in this packet. We did it virtual only because it's becoming so thick. But if you're not following our social media, Monica is one of our social media experts, and Miranda Alvarado in our office is our social media experts, and they're doing a great job. So hopefully you've seen that.
Yes. It's an amazing job. It's really great.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question on this? I, as an esthetician, don't think I got the email on September 11th to licensed estheticians. How do we see if we're part of the mail list?
You have to have your email on file for your license.
Okay, so go in. Should I email the board, or should I, like, if I was just a lay person, just to have my fellow estheticians check too, is there a way we can check on our own if our email is correct on our license, or should we just email you?
For the listservs?
Yeah.
You can go online to your Breeze account, and you can change your address, and you can add your email there.
Okay, perfect. I want to be able to tell people to do it themselves,
Yes.
so, okay, thank you.
All right, so that's our outreach update. And then the last section, I believe, is our strategic plan update. So some highlights on the strategic plan is the mobile inspection application. This is a huge project. I will say Carrie is the lead on and working on. Our inspectors are going to be using iPads to do inspections. And it makes me very nervous, but we're very excited. It's only our board and Vet Med board, right? Is it? And so do you want to just give a little update on that?
Oh, yes. It's going to be fabulous.
Carrie's like, I'm not nervous.
The inspectors are going to have iPads, and they will be able to work online on their iPads. But then they also, if they go into a building or they're in an area in the state where there isn't good reception, they will also be able to work on their iPads offline. And then once they connect, then that information will come to Breeze. So currently, the inspectors are working like on a tablet form, on a triplicate, and they give the licensee a yellow copy when they are done with the inspection. And then those at the end of the week are packaged together and mailed into the office, and then they're counted, and then they're separated, and then they're scanned, and then they're just put in a folder so that they can be worked to put into Breeze. With this new application, the inspectors will be able to do their inspection on the iPad, mark all the violations just like they do now, and at the end of the inspection, once it's completed, they will be able to email a copy of the inspection report to the licensee, including the pictures of the violations, so the licensees will have that in real time. And then that information is uploaded into Breeze. And if it's a closed on call or no violation or an out of business, that record is closed out and staff in the office don't have to do anything. And then anything with a violation, then the information will already be in Breeze, and then we can use it to enter it into our enforcement side. But theoretically, within a year, hopefully, we should be able to be processing the inspection reports with violations in the office like a day or two after the inspection.
Awesome.
Where currently now,
It's
it's taking like 2 to 3 months right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Can
Super
I ask
exciting.
who's-
We're going to slowly roll it out. So we're going to have the inspectors that are going to start with it. We're going to have them take the inspections that they've done in the field for the last few weeks and enter those in at home into the iPad so they can get a feel of how the iPad works, what it feels like, where they put their information, and send those into the office. And then once they get comfortable with that, then those 3 inspectors will start taking their iPads out into the field. And then once we figure out, like, we have all the bugs worked out, we've been doing a lot of testing, so we feel pretty good about where we're at. But if they find any other bugs that we need to work out before we send all the inspectors on, we'll hopefully get those corrected before we get the bulk of our inspectors using it. So hopefully by the spring, everybody will be using them.
I'm just curious about who will be providing tech support when you, because that's it's going to be its own job when you send out that much equipment all over the state, right?
Right. Actually, DCA's been super helpful in this, and their OIS staff has been going to trainings, and they've been on a lot of our meetings lately. We are the first 2 boards, Vet Med and our board, to use iPads in this manner. So it's been a learning curve for the whole department on how to use this, what kind of security we need, all those kind of things. So OIS has been fabulous in helping us out, and they're already helped out a couple of our inspectors get their iPads set up, and they've already made some improvements to the onboarding process where the application's already loaded onto the iPad when the inspector gets it, so the inspector doesn't have to do that. So learning curve for everybody, but everybody's really come together, and it's been working out really great.
Is there a change in the citation report form? Will that still be given at the, in hard?
They will not get a hard copy handwritten at the time
They
of
will
the
not.
inspection,
Uh-huh.
but they will get an emailed version, a new version of an inspection report that includes the violations and the photos of the violations.
Great.
They will continue to get the citation that we issue from the office. That will be the same. So once we process in the office and we figure out what fines we're going to implement, that process will be the same, and that citation will look the same, but the inspection report will be different.
Good.
Yeah.
Carrie, I really appreciate
Sorry, I think I just got word that my microphone's not even working, but it keeps popping, so.
I just wanted to commend you and say how much we appreciate all the work you've been putting into this. And I feel proud that we're kind of leading the way in DCA in doing this. And all of our growing pains will benefit all of the boards
Yes.
who come after. So thank you for doing the
Thank
work.
you so much. Yes, we did have some other boards come up to us the other day at a meeting and say they wanted in on it. They could have been in on it from the very beginning, but I think people were scared. Okay, thank you. Oh, so the funding that we used for this was, we did a pitch. The California Department of Technology has a technology modernization fund, and they give grants to state agencies to improve their technology. And so we did a pitch, working with DCA, OIS as well. We did a pitch, and we got a grant. And so this has been fully funded to this point. And so that saved us quite a bit of money. Although going into the future, we'll have to pay for our yearly license fees and any other additional equipment that we need. But we did have a grant that helped us pay for this improvement. So, yeah, no cost to our bottom line.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
And just so you know, that was all Carrie. Wasn't me. Whew, over my head.
Can you grab it for yourself, and then I'll give it this to her, if you don't mind. Then I'll give this to her. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much, Caesar. Thank you. Okay, the next highlights on our strategic plan is we have contacted, one of the things in our strategic plan was booking platforms, and we are still working on that, but we have made contact with 10 different booking platforms. That's our making sure that these booking platforms are requiring people to be licensed in the state. So we'll have more information as we get through that. That project pretty much just recently started. When
you say booking platforms, clarify.
The apps that are out there that you can go on and book your hairstyle appointment.
Oh, so someone who is advertising their services, you're saying that person, you're looking for those platforms to make sure that the person who's advertising their services in California are licensed?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're trying to contact the people who are the owners of the apps to make them require that, because they don't. And if they did, then that would help everyone.
Wow.
Okay.
You may know that we launched a full Vietnamese Facebook page, so it is completely separate than our own than our own Facebook page. It's the same information, but it's 100% Vietnamese. There's not like translating on that Facebook page. And we're fortunate enough right now to have some Vietnamese speaking staff who are also licensees that have been helping with us. Lan Lei, who is one of our enforcement analysts, has been translating in the office for us like crazy. She comes from the industry as well. She recently did a town hall with us down in Westminster, where she was able to work directly with the licensees in Vietnamese. So we're very fortunate to have them on our staff with that licensee background as well. So it's going really well. Again, Miranda and Monica are the ones who put it together with Lon's work of translating everything. We have to coordinate the two sites, but they're doing a great job at it. And then lastly, do you have a question?
Me.
You said you only
When you
have
see it go
one.
up and down, that's my signal. Just a quick question. On the strategic plan, which is obviously very important for us, you show us what's completed, ongoing, what may be pending, but I really don't have a feel. Are we on schedule of completion of our strategic plan?
We are in almost all of our areas. Would you agree, Allison? Allison monitors that for us. We had some that had delays that we didn't start at the same time we would have liked to. But yes, we are on task to have it finished. We did a 5-year plan. It goes to 2027.
So when would it be finished? In
2027.
27, okay.
I mean, a lot is already finished and a lot is going to be finished before then, which is even better, but yes, we're on task. And so lastly, we still, of course, have our quarterly newsletter that is our very pretty newsletter that we put together and GCA makes shiny and look really good for us. So that's still moving forward. And that's it.
Thank you, Christy. Any other questions or comments from the board members? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up for public comment. Any members of the public like to speak on this agenda item, the executive management reports? Please come on up. Again, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person, but you will also have an opportunity to speak again at the end of the meeting.
Good morning. I'm Seth Kaplan, Improvement Institute of Cosmetology and Barbering School. I wanted to thank the board for the work they've done with the apprenticeship issues. And I think it's great. I think that the more that can be done to let potential apprentices know that we really shouldn't be paying money for this, the better. Because like you, I hear the stories all the time. People pay 10, 11, 12,000 for quote unquote institute, school, whatever. That's actually an apprenticeship.
Yep.
And I also hear the stories of 50 people in a shop and one person supervising them, which I think is in direct violation of what those rules are, numbers of licensed people, that sort of stuff. Regarding the booking platforms, I got into a huge fight with Booksy about this. They came into my school, they asked if they could sign me up as a school and give every student a free page of their services as a student. So I thought, okay, this makes sense. Might be a good idea. Get familiar with it. I started looking at it and I realized that they're not verifying anybody's license. So I did have a conversation with the owners. I had an email exchange, figure out a polling. Make a long story short, they could care less. And it's pretty disgusting actually. So we won't allow any of our students to use that site. I'm not even really aware of any site that is checking for licensure. Which is obviously a problem. So I commend you guys on that as well. I think that's great. I think that's really, really good. I have a question. I saw that apprenticeships, the number of licenses that were gotten had gone down. Did the number of applications also go down? I saw the licensure rate go down, but did the actual number of applications go down? I don't have the numbers from before. I was just curious.
I believe so. There are some enforcement activities happening with a couple apprenticeship programs through the DAS right now, and I would believe that has impacted greatly the number of apprentices coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate everything you guys have done. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on manicurist worker classification. Christy?
Thank you. So this is taking a lot of our time right now in our office. So we, as you may remember, we had AB 5 back in 2020 that was gave us we got an exemption from the ABC test, and all of our licensees had an exemption from, basically this is about how you classify yourself as an employee and or independent contractor. And when the manicurist had a sunset date for their exemption, and that sunset date is up January 1, 2025. There has been legislation that the board has supported. We supported SB 451, which was a bill that would have made manicurists the same as the rest so that they could still continue to be independent contractors. That bill died in February of 2024 this year. So January 1, that exemption ends. And we've talked about this in the past. We had another bill that we did not support that was, do you remember the number? That's okay. And my recommendation to the board at the time was that we don't support it because it required a lot of costs on our part. Because it was at one point the bill wanted us to send the worker classification information that's on our website out to every single licensee or every single establishment owner, every single manicurist, and we have a lot of those two licenses, and it was a 16-page document, and it just would have been astronomical for us to send out. So in discussions about these bills, one of my concerns has always been this is a labor issue. It's a labor law. We don't enforce it. We can't enforce it, nor should we be even trying to interpret it because it's not our wheelhouse. And so with the California Healthy Nail Collaborative, they were able to get me a contact at the Labor Commissioner's office who put together, we had agreed to look at if they could give me a quarter page, we could probably send that out in English and Vietnamese of what a manicurist, to inform manicurists, because no one knows that this is happening January 1. Well, the information that we received was not a quarter page, it was a full page. So we did consider mailing it out to all manicurists and establishment owners, because it is true that people come to us no matter what. People come to the state board for anything and everything if they're in this industry. And so when we got the one page, we took it out for bid to see how much it would cost for it to be developed or printed and mailed out to manicurists and establishment owners, and it came in at $106,000. That was without translation, I believe. So we would still have to have it translated. And so because I was shocked and that was a high number, I wanted to bring it to the board for the board to decide if our licensees, because we're funded by our licensees' fees, should be paying for information to be sent out that has nothing to do with us. Now, we've gotten tons of emails, and we have a response. We send the labor information that was given to us to anybody who's been informing us. We've posted it on our Facebook page. We've done listservs with that information as all, which is several thousands of people that we sent this information out to. So we've done a really good job at getting the word out as much as we can at no cost, but it would be up to the board if they chose to decide to spend that high of amount of money to something that's going to probably increase more calls to us that we're then just going to have to send to the Labor Commissioner's office. So that's one item that we want the board to talk about today. The other item is, and I'm taking Steve's update for the next item, which is the licensing committee meeting, because we talked about this at the licensing committee meeting as well. And one of the things that the board could do is make like a policy statement that if the board chooses, all of our licensees should be treated the same. It is difficult right now for people to understand why manicurists are being treated completely different than all of our other licensees. And what makes it, my opinion, what makes it even harder is that a cosmetologist can do nails. So if you have a licensed cosmetologist in your salon doing nails, they can be an independent contractor because they're a licensed cosmetologist. And a manicurist can't. And so there's a large number of manicurists. Now, keeping in mind that there probably are some misclassifications of workers. We know that. But it's separated one license type out of the rest of our license types. So that's what I would, recommend you all discuss today. And I do also want to mention that people are trying to find loopholes around this, and so we have answered questions on our Facebook page. A lot of times we don't engage on Facebook because it's social media, but we have answered some questions. Like one of the things is, obviously if you have a suite and you're an individual owner of your suite and you're a manicurist, you're an owner, so you're fine. But now we have a lot of people saying, well, can't I just put partitions up around my manicuring station and call it a suite? and you can't because you're not zoned for a suite. The U.S. Post Office doesn't doesn't recognize you as a suite. So to be a suite where we require you have an establishment license, it has to be zoned by your city and county, and it has to be recognized by the U.S. Post Office as a suite as your actual U.S. postal address. So if somebody wants to build walls and rezone, they can do that. And if they get an address that as a formal suite, then that's the only way we see out of this for our licensees. But basically, I mean, I don't know about the salon where I go to, but I know they have a manicurist. I'm assuming she's an independent contractor. And as of January 1, she has to either become an employee or become an owner. And none of that is for our other licensees. So that's.
Okay, thank you for laying the table, Christy. So a lot to talk about. I think let's take these points separately, one by one, okay? Let's start with the proposal for the printing, just because I think we probably have members of the public who want to speak on it, so let's address it first. Okay, so let's just be clear. Let's talk about that first, then we'll move on to a possible policy statement. I see, Steve, you want to start off the conversation? Sure. Go ahead.
A little bit aside to this. On AB5, it had a sunset date for our manicurists. Are there other shoes that could drop in AB5? It was just a sunset date placed on manicurists alone.
Just manicurists alone.
Okay. So we have 59,000 establishments. We have 129,000 manicurists. So we have a population, theoretically, that we mail to of like 188,000, of which we have no benefit to the board, really. This is not our situation. It can actually, as Chrissy said, it's going to cost us money to deal with this. But this will add 188,000 minimal people, which is larger than most cities in California, to the California tax rolls. So they're going to benefit into the tens of millions of dollars between the payroll taxes and unemployment and everything else that the state can charge. They have a huge vested interest in this. We have really no vested interest in this. For us getting involved in this and giving advice even, we have liability on this. So I would suggest that maybe we look at passing this on and not getting involved in our budget.
I agree.
Okay, any other board members want to speak on this?
I wanted to just ask if, I don't agree with us incurring the cost, but what I will say that where I'm located at in just the city of Covina, I had the opportunity recently talking, because everybody knows me over there, so of course they all come over. Tanya, what is this? One of the things that they have said that they would like to have seen is on our Facebook, because you guys do a great job. What a lot of people relate to is the physical appearance of someone making a Facebook Live talking about this. So I don't know if you're doing it on TikTok, but these people aren't on TikTok. A lot of these nail people are actually on Facebook. So maybe having a Facebook Live or a Facebook post with a physical person speaking to the audience about that, even though it's printed in a post, doesn't capture your attention like a video does. And it can be quick and just basically saying, effective January 1st, all manicurists are to adhere to the labor law. Because although it's not our jam, but it's going to become our jam, right? It's not our thing, it's not our policy. But the reason why it's going to become a part of us is because we are all licensed individuals falling under DCA. They have made this a discriminatory issue by singling out the manicurists. So that we don't incur the cost, we should, I don't even want to say should, because we really shouldn't even be involved, but we are because of who it is, right? So finding an alternate solution that to me is more relatable to the industry we're talking to, the audience. I would like to see something like that done, to where we go on and do a Facebook Live or something quick, a video, speaking directly to that audience and just giving them that verbal direction of what they need to do.
So I would love Facebook Live. My concern with that would be is that we can't answer their questions.
No need to. I'm saying like there's, just as if we put a post up would be the same as if we put up a Facebook, and maybe not go live, but do a video, like
Okay,
a real
yeah.
video, because the reels are quick.
Yeah.
People, you go back and
Like
try
a
to
reel.
read those, the reels are really quick. But something more face-to-face, showing that we care, but we can't get involved,
Right.
right? But because it's in our bed, it's in our wheelhouse. Like,
Right.
it's coming to us no matter how we look at it. But incurring a $106,000 expense,
Right.
to me, makes no sense.
And I did want to mention that I've done, I did a town hall meeting with Senator Nguyen, who had a huge turnout. She did have the labor relations office there as well, so it was lucky that they were able to speak to it. We at Face and Body, Jamie and I did a panel with another member where we talked a lot about it as well. And then I know Jamie has a podcast. Was it a podcast we did? Where that they had me on to speak on as well. But we can certainly add those to, we can look at doing.
But the thing is that most of that community, they're not listening to podcasts.
Oh, and I'm
They're
sorry.
not-
We're also looking at, we are doing a event in December. I'm looking at Jamie because I'm doing it with Jamie and Mike Vo, who is connecting us with the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce. Because we do believe we've gotten the word out. A lot of people look at our Facebook, and we do believe we've gotten the word out to a lot of English-speaking manicurists, but we are concerned about the Vietnamese-speaking manicurists.
So that's why I said Facebook is really where our audience is going to be, Facebook and Instagram, right? So if we do and I said Facebook Live, doesn't have to be live, but it needs to be a video of someone representing the board stating that this is what's happening, this is where you get that information from, and not just a post of some paper, something written and directing in there. To me, because it's coming back to us no matter how we look. I mean, I have a freaking salon, and I've had 13 nail salon owners come into, Tanya, can you come here? Like, wanting to, and what do I say to them? Once I tell them, like, this is where you're gonna go, it resonates with them a lot easier than them reading something on the post, right? Because as quickly as I direct them to our Facebook page, is as quickly they're gonna ask me another question. So that's all I'm saying is that if we're going to divert them, then let's give them something a little bit more personal, because $106,000 coming out of my budget is not okay.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yes, Dr. Jimenez, you want to speak on this?
I want to add to what Tanya's saying. So I know that you don't want to draw more people in. We can't answer questions on a live, but in order for the social media to work and to be spread widely, it needs to be interactive. So they need to be able to at least leave a comment or make a comment, as simple as that sounds. And it needs to be something that can be shared as well. So I'm not in the industry, but I have a lot of former students that are in the industry and friends that are in the industry. So I want to be able to share and then say, you repost as well. So social media, you have to interact with it in order for it to hit the people's pages. It's just because they follow the algorithm, just because they follow that page does not mean that they're actually going to see it pop up for them.
And I think when we do address that, if we could really go back to the beginning and what it was stemmed from, that the labor board was looking to minimize abuse of labor and just why it was birthed in the first place. I think so many manicurists haven't been along this journey as we all have in this room, and so going back to what it was stemmed from will help, at least even if it wasn't their experience, that they would understand where it came from.
I have one question, Christy. Forgive me if you said this, but did we consider sending it via email?
We did send it via email.
I don't think I got it, so I will double check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because our emails, when we do listservs, it only goes, because the emails aren't required.
Right.
And so if we don't have your email on your license record, then you won't get it.
Okay.
Did you get it? Do you remember?
Getting the labor law? Yeah, I got it, because my email's on there. But yeah, I got it.
Okay.
But again, that goes back to my point of saying, like, every person that I know, every nail salon I go into, 99% of those people are on Facebook. They're on Instagram.
Right.
So if we put a video up there, not a post, meaning typewritten post, but a speaking video, that's going to get shared so quickly, and then they could pause it, listen to it, and read. Because reels go away within 24 hours unless you put it on there to save. So strategically, it will reach faster, and more people would be more willing to share that than reading something.
Yep, that's great.
So
We can totally
that's
do
what
that.
I'm just saying, like, yeah. 106,000.
Yes, Member Munoz?
The Department of Industrial Relations, do they have a good relationship with us? Okay.
Let the record reflect.
I'm just wondering, like, when you have change management, like, this is a big change, so their plan, I'm just going to think out loud and maybe we get somewhere with it, but just like there's usually some sort of strategic plan and funding, hopefully, on that side, where the entity, like, establishes funding to support when a new bill's passed, like the implementation. So I would say hold on our money. They should really be having money to implement a bill on their side. Right. So I would support if we didn't want to use our money. It really is, it's in their wheelhouse. We can create some sort of back and forth with them, a quick FAQ that we can host that takes it to their page. And I'm happy to make, like, if we can do something like that, but I would definitely hold funds because it should be on their side.
Yeah, that's a ginormous department.
Yeah.
And I have communicated that we would provide addresses for the mailing. And I have encouraged them to post this information on their website as well. There is a Facebook account for this particular issue, not related to our account, that I follow, and it doesn't sound like they've been very helpful, to be honest, with some of the questions that have come their way.
And the other thing too is that this is 106,000 just in the mailing, but man hours, what's taken away from us. So I think that it's not just this that is a concern for me. It's where else is this taken away from? Because we're already this is our second board meeting that we're talking about this again. Like.
Oh yeah, I want to clarify. FAQ meaning where do I go to get more info then?
Yeah.
Who can answer that's what I mean by FAQ, by the way. Yeah, who can I go to? Where should I go with this question? What if I'm not in that way? At some point, it's like, okay, we're just directing you back. Yeah. Yes, don't spend too much time. And I just don't feel like this is our... Yeah, with our scope and the use of your resources too, that you have so many other things going on that are within your scope and you're busy. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to give the other board members any opportunity to chime in if they wanted to. Otherwise, let's go to, so it sounds like there is no motion to approve this expenditure. I think I just want to open it to public comment anyway, just to inform our discussion. So at this time, I'm going to open up public comment and just see if anybody wants to comment on this discussion or add to this discussion about this mailing.
Good morning, it's Jamie Schrobeck, Precision Nails. Whew. Okay, we've been talking about this for years, since 2019, and the year has finally come where we lose this exemption. And I understand that the board is sticking to a script that they did not write, a script that was very poorly written, that uses phrases like slightly dimmer to describe businesses being turned upside down from having independent contractors now being forced to have employees. So while this does not impact the board's authority, and I would agree that you should not get involved and send anything more because you're already getting bombarded with questions as it is. So I would agree with that. What I would encourage you to do though is to issue a policy statement, because I think that would go a long way in reassuring any legislator who wants to take this up next year that we will already have the support of the board in moving something forward so that it can get through the process as quickly as possible. We'll see how long that takes. I did want to say that I would expect the board would also get a ton of new establishment applications that are going to be doing just those very things that we're concerned about, where people are going to be making up suite numbers, where they're going to be creating partnerships that aren't really partnerships because they're not a legal entity approved by the IRS. But we're going to see a lot of shenanigans. And we're going to see people who just say, you know what difference does it make? The DIR is already swamped. What are the chances of them coming after me anyway? And besides, the penalties would fall on the owner of the establishment more than they would on the staff. So those are just my thoughts for right now. I have brought this up again and again and again, even when it wasn't on the agenda. I'm glad we're talking about it today, and we'll have a lot to do starting in January. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment.
Madam President, members of the board, Fred Jones, Professional Beauty Federation. I really appreciate all the deliberation and effort by the board on this because it's not in your wheelhouse, but it is your world. And whether you get out in front of this or not, it's going to impact you in one way or the other. Lots of ways, I believe. I just got through watching the new version of the movie Twister. And it's a good movie, I recommend it. I like the first one too. The premise of both of those movies is how can we provide early warning before these monstrous volcanoes come to town. That's the whole premise of both movies. And I'm here to tell you this is a twister. We don't know when, we don't know how, but we know it's going to hit. And it's going to hit not because of the Department of Labor, it's going to hit by these law firms out there that will be suing. And they're already there, they're already doing it. The AB5 shakedown are ridiculous. I've had my closest friends, their business was essentially destroyed. It was just a side hustle making one-off purses and using seamstresses to help out. And $30,000 later, they closed their side hustle business because of this law firm from this city, Burbank, by the way, and this is way up in Sacramento. So it's going to be a twister that hits primarily the Vietnamese communities, and they won't even know it's coming. So your effort to provide an early warning is a humane effort. In whatever way you can do it, please do it. I would suggest removing anyone that has an email from the mailing list and then see what the cost is. Maybe it's a little more manageable that way. I don't know, but providing information will be huge. The policy statement, which I assume we're going to get to separately, I think that's a great idea. You should be out in front saying, we need equity, this is unfair, this is singling out not just a sector, but a particular community of our industry, and that's ridiculous. So we obviously support policy efforts as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, any other members of the public like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, let's move to the other proposed action about the policy statement. Does anyone want to speak on that? Steve, I believe it was discussed initially in your committee, is that right?
It was, and we elected to, because it was so important, we elected to bring it to the board as a whole.
Was there a recommendation from the committee?
There was a recommendation to take, we did not talk about the costs at the committee. I don't believe we had them at that committee time, but we did talk about the policy statement, and the recommendation from the committee was for the board to take a policy statement to basically have all of our licensees treated the same when it comes to employee classification.
So the committee was pro the statement. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's the recommendation coming out of the committee. Does anyone want to discuss further or have any?
I'll move to it.
All right. If not, can I have a motion? There's a suggestion on our agenda item. So if you want to make
This
that
is
motion.
Kelly Funk. I propose that the board adopt a policy statement affirming the right of all license types to choose their worker classification.
All right. Thank you for that motion. Okay. We have a second.
Second on that.
Oh, dueling seconds. Okay, I heard Vice President Fairley first, so thank you.
Good.
But thanks for teeing it up. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Let's open it up for public comment. It looks like we have, yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jamie Strawback, Precision Nails again. This is the perfect time to mention this in agenda item number 7, where you have individuals reporting their employment identification when they renew their licensure. We don't break that out in the report that we give here at the board meetings by license type, but I'd be very curious how the manicurists, as they renew their licenses, are identified as independent contractors.
I don't think we can.
Thank you. Next public comment.
Again, Fred Jones, Professional Beauty Federation, in support of Ms. Funk's motion. I just wanted to write a little bit more meat to the bones on 85. Assembly Bill 5, which basically codified the Supreme Court ruling of Dynamex, basically makes it very difficult for a business to have independent contractors working for that business. There were some exemptions given to several industries in Assembly Bill 5. Our industry was one of those. But it came at a price. We actually had to work with the author's office in creating additional requirements on our industry to qualify for this exemption. They have to pay for their own advertisement, they have to set their own rates, set their own hours, have full access. There were 7 criteria in addition to the other exemption requirements of Assembly Bill 5 to get this exemption. So it's a serious amount of legal requirements to try to legitimize true independent contractor relations from just those trying to escape labor law requirements. And we thought that that was reasonable. We just think, as your motion calls for, is that regardless of whatever the standard is, it should be across the board on all your license categories. We support this motion.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this motion? Okay, seeing none, may we have a roll call vote?
Monica, roll call. Sorry. Callie Mayfam?
Yes.
Tanya Fairley?
Yes.
Danielle Munoz?
Yes.
Megan Ellis?
Yes.
Kelly Funk?
Yes.
Reese Isbell?
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez?
Yes.
Tamika Miller?
Yes.
Steve Weeks?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, at this time, I'm going to propose a 10-minute break. And just to be clear, my hope is that when everyone comes back on time for their 10-minute break, we can go until 12:30. And if there's anything still on the agenda, we can take a lunch break at that time, but we'll see where we're at. Is
Sounds
that
good.
okay? All right. Great. 10 minutes. Come back at 11:40. Okay.
She said, be back on time.
All right, thank you. Coming back from break, we still have a quorum of members here. Moving on to agenda item number 9, committee reports.
Do we need a
Kinda
second motion on
combined.
this other one?
So 9 was really combined with 8.
Okay.
Do you agree, Steve? You're okay with skipping?
Yeah.
If you had anything else to add?
Okay.
Because we decided not to do the second.
Yes, right. So we don't need a second motion for that one. Okay.
We don't need a motion for that.
No, we do not. Okay. All right, so agenda item number 9 was discussed at the same time as agenda item number 8. So we have completed those discussions.
Yes.
Moving on to agenda item number 10, report on the October 14th, 2024 Enforcement and Inspections Committee meeting. Chair Munoz, could you provide us an update?
I thought I had it up, but I think I brought up the wrong attachment.
All right, would you like Christy to?
Yes, usually, we did go through some of the fees, not all of them, And then Christy, did you want to add anything? We're not done yet.
Sure. So the Enforcement and Inspections Committee is currently looking at at our administrative fine schedule and looking at the current fines based on what we've recommended is the risk to consumers. And so we got through about halfway of the fines, and we will finish it at our next meeting, which is yet to be determined. And then once they have reviewed that, it will come to the full board for a recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have any questions at this time? Okay, I'm going to pause to see, is there any members of the public who would like to comment on agenda item number 10? Okay, moving on to agenda item number 11, report on October 14th, 2024, Diversity, Equity, and Inspections Inclusion Committee?
And I'll give an update on that.
Okay.
So our DEI committee met and we reviewed the Crown Act and talked about that, which kind of ties to a new bill that was recently signed requiring textured hair. We'll talk about that a little more in our legislative update. The committee also discussed DEI suggestions, and so one of the things Member Munoz, or Chair Munoz, suggested that we revisit our survey that we had done back in the beginning of this committee and kind of build off of that how we could increase our DEI information. So staff will be working on that, and we'll be presenting more information at the next committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from board members? Okay. Any members of the public wish to comment on agenda item number 11? Okay, seeing none, let's move on. Chrissy, just noting for our minutes in the future, the listing for 11 does say Diversity, Equity, and Inspections Committee, so just correct that for the minutes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 12, report on the October 14, 2024 Health and Safety Advisory Committee meeting. I heard the chair wasn't there, so I would ask Chrissy to provide an update.
Happy to. So the committee has been looking at our health and safety course. So we have a health and safety course that has a lot of information for licensees that all schools teach during their courses. And we had partitioned it out to various people that are on the committee, which we have like a scientist on that committee, we have an infection control specialist, we have somebody from Cal OSHA, we have somebody from the Department of Public Health. So they all gave us their feedback as well as our members, and we this is the item that was included as a virtual item to you that came to you last week because it's very, very thick, and so thank you for saving us the printing of that. It is on our website under our materials as well, so it is posted. And there were some great additions that were made to it, but in a summary, we updated items such as we use gender-neutral language. We included the hairstylist license. We replaced case studies with new scenarios. We updated the review questions. We updated outdated or irrelevant information or links. We had some old links in there. We added information on the manicurist worker classification. We added information on the different types of domestic abuse. That's a requirement actually by statute that we include that in this course. We added information on dependent adult abuse. We updated the information on HIV and AIDS. And we updated formatting so it's easier to read, and we made minor changes to just grammar and spelling throughout the entire book. We were going to provide just the sections that had multiple, substantial changes, but then we cleaned up so much of the verbiage. Every page had a minor edit on it. So that's why we decided to do it virtual, only provide that electronically. So if the committee agrees with the changes that we have made, we do have a suggested motion. We would need the board to approve the newly revised curriculum, and then we provide it to DCA, who makes it look pretty for us.
Okay, Thank you, Christy, and the committee members for doing all of that tremendous work. That is a substantial update. Do any of our board members have any questions or comments or suggestions for these new language? Okay, seeing none, can I ask for a motion? There is a suggested motion at the bottom of the page. And just note, this motion is significantly shorter than ones to come, so if you wanted to get your motion in, this is a good one.
I move to approve the updated health and safety course and authorize the executive officer to make any additional non-substantive changes.
All right, thank you, Vice President Farrelly. Do we have a second?
Danielle Munoz, second.
All right, thank you, Member Munoz, seconds. Okay, let's have a open up for public comment on agenda item number 12 and our motion. Okay, seeing no public comment, may we have a roll call vote?
Callie Mayfam,
Yes?
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Danielle Munoz,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 13, update on chaptered legislation. Christy, can you provide an update?
All right, so we had two bills that we were heavily involved in that both were signed by the governor. AB 2166 requires barbers, cosmetologists, and hairstylists to receive instruction in providing services to individuals with all hair types and textures, including various wave curl or wave patterns, hair strand thickness, and volumes of hair. It requires the test to determine the applicant's skill in and knowledge of providing these services to individuals with varying hair types and textures. We provided a listserv to all of our schools. We have contacts for all of our schools, so we have sent that information out to schools already. The bill obviously goes into effect January 1, but we've notified schools ahead of time. I've talked to several schools about this who don't need to make any changes because they're already doing it. And so we have, the only thing that we were required to do was to notify schools. We're not requiring schools to resubmit curriculum to be approved. The exam already does contain textured hair questions. So there was minimal impact for us, and we've actually already completed it before it even went into law, so yay for us. And then SB 1451 is the bill. We're going to be talking about regulations on this bill a little bit later. And this is cleanup language. When we created the hairstylist license, the statute only gave us authority to charge the license fee. And we need to charge an application and exam fee. So people were getting their hairstylist license for only $50, and it should be about $125, the cost to the board. So you're gonna see regulations clearing that up. But we needed the authority in order to do the regulations, so we were able to get that clean language through.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments from other board members? No? Okay, we're going to open it up for public comment. Any members of the public would like to make a comment on agenda item number 13? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to agenda item number 14, discussion and possible action regarding rulemaking proposals. Christy?
Okay, so on item 14 is just going to be an update. We do not have any recommended motions on this. So this is just an update of regulation packages that are in the process at some point. Our final rulemaking package was approved on July 19th, 2024. This was for our SB 803 cleanup regs. So SB 803 is from 3-4 years ago. So that's how long it takes us to get regulations done. And so we finally got those done. It was an extensive package, so very happy that that is finally off of our list of to-dos. Our pre-apprenticeship training, this is also part of SB 803 that requires the board to offer pre-apprentice training as opposed to the program sponsors. This is one of the areas program sponsors were charging thousands and thousands of dollars for this. It is now required to be board offered. We've already developed the course. It's an online course. We will actually show you a demo of it at our next board meeting in Sacramento where we have a little more AV flexibility. So now an apprentice, as soon as those regs are final, they're out for a comment period right now. And as soon as we finalize those regs, those individuals will now have to get that pre-apprentice training done at the board. And so it's kind of like our sexual harassment training or ethics training that we all have to do. It's that type of computer-based system, and it's based on who the board is and basic patron protection. Okay? And then the next one is our remedial education program. So SB 384 is the bill that allows someone to do remedial education as opposed to paying a fine. So that is currently in the process of being developed. It has to have regulations developed, a course developed like we did for the pre-apprentice training. And, excuse me, that is in the process right now. We have the content, the regs kind of going hand in hand. I think are we talking about regs these regs later in the meeting? At this meeting, or we already approved those? So no. So they're both in process for the regulations as well as the contract moving forward. Questions?
When are they given the option for that?
They'll get the option when they'll be cited. They'll get a citation just like they normally would. And that's when they will have the option to either pay their fine, appeal their fine, or take remedial education to have that fine removed.
So cite and fine will deal with that?
Yes.
Oh, that was my question. So they wouldn't go to DRC and get it as an option? It would
Correct.
be before? Okay.
It would be before. Okay. And then we have our interpreter reg package that staff are currently working on. That is something that the board talked about, I believe, a couple meetings ago. We require an interpreter to not interpret for 2 years after they've interpreted once. And other boards, as well as the exam vendors, are only 1 year, so we're making that a 1 year duration. And then we're currently still working on apprenticeship regs. That's our big apprenticeship regulation package that we've actually been working on for quite some time. With myself being so involved in the apprenticeship program and what we're learning more every day, it just keeps evolving into something bigger and better. So I think when we finally get there, it's going to be a great regulation package. And then same with schools and externs, we're working, that's in the works, as well as health and safety. So those are moving, but at the staff level in our office. And that's it.
Thank you, Christy. Any questions or comments from the board? No? Any members of the public wish to comment on agenda item number 14? Nope. Okay, all right, moving on then to agenda item number 15, discussion and possible action to reconsider previously approved text, etc. Christy?
Okay, so this first, our next 3 items are regulation packages. So this first item is our disciplinary guidelines. So we originally started our disciplinary guidelines, so just so you know, this is the packet that we provide to you during reinstatement hearings, because that's where it really impacts the board, and they look at it. We also give it to attorney generals when they're working our cases. And it hadn't been updated for a very long time, and so we've been working on updating it. In May of 2024, the board approved the proposed regulatory language of the disciplinary guidelines, but after staff and our regulations council have further gone through and worked on the package, they found some changes that needed to be done. So we have a couple of items here for this particular package. We have given you and it's interesting because we reference the disciplinary guidelines in the regulations. So you'll see on the first attachment page, which is it says page 1 of 1 at the bottom, that's the regulation language. So the change in the actual regulation is very tiny, but we are referencing the actual document. So that's why there's so many pages. And we've provided pages that have the underlined, which is anything that's new. And we've provided you a second copy of the disciplinary guidelines, and everything that's yellow highlighted is what has been updated through our regulations council and our regulations analyst. So with that, we believe we've finally got it. And we've also provided the substantial amendments to this package on page 2 of the memo. And we have a recommended motion.
Any questions or comments from board members? If none, can I ask for a motion? There is language there for a recommended motion. It does need to be read into the record. All right.
I'm Danielle Munoz. I move to approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16 CCR Section 972 as set forth in attachments 1 and 2. Direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period, and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at Section 972 as noticed.
Thank you, Member Munoz. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Vice President Fairley. So we have a motion and a second. Let's open it up for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to comment on the pending motion? Okay, seeing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Callie Mayfam,
Yes?
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Danielle Munoz,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
Steve Weeks.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda number 16. Christy?
Okay, so this regulation package is about our out-of-state license certifications. When somebody applies to California, they submit a license certification. And what happens often, we've talked about in the past, is we'll get a certification but not their application. And then we won't get their application for 6 months. And we want to only hold that certification for a certain amount of time because they could have had discipline in that time that the certification is sitting in our office waiting for the application to come in. So we had agreed in the past to make that time frame 3 months. And in working through the regulation process, working with our regulation council, we found areas that needed to be updated and really clarified and cleaned up. And also our reciprocity applications. So we reference applications in the regs, so that means they have to be part of the regulatory package and show any changes that we're making on there as well. So we have the new updated language in the packet. Again, it's a lot of making our regulations better than what they were to begin with. And we have, again, a recommended motion that is a little bit lengthy.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Any comments or questions from board members? If not, can I have a motion?
Hi, this is Kelly Funk.
Thank you, Member Funk. Go ahead.
I move to rescind the board's prior motion approving text for this proposal on February 26, 2024, and instead approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16, CCR Section 911 as set forth in Attachment 1, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at Section 911 as noticed.
Thank you so much for the motion, Member Funk. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Vice President Fairley, who seconds. All right, let's open up for public comment. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this motion? Okay, seeing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Callie Mayfam,
Yes?
Tanya Fairley,
Yes.
Danielle Munoz,
Yes.
Megan Ellis,
Yes.
Kelly Funk,
Yes.
Reese Isbell,
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez,
Yes.
Tamika Miller,
Yes.
Steve Weeks.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 17. Christy.
All right, our last regulation package we are discussing today is the hairstylist licensing fees. As we talked about just a few minutes ago, the hairstylist was created in SB 803, but we only have the authority to charge that license fee. So this regulatory language will create our application and exam fee, the initial license fee, which was set in statute before, our renewal fee, and our license renewal delinquent fee. So we are required to charge what the cost is to the board. Our costs actually, we have attached them. They actually came in a little bit higher than what we're charging, but we do not see fit with our budget to charge more for the hairstylist licensing fee than we would for like a cosmetologist or a barbering fee. And so with that, on page 2 of 2 in the attachment, you'll see what our regulations will look like. The underlined area is the new fees that will go into regulations with this package. And we, again, have a recommended motion.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I guess I'm not correlating the two. What we just saw previous, you said was 125, so that's outside of the 50? I'm confused.
Yeah, the licensee pays 75 plus the 50.
Okay.
For the first time.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments from other board members? If not, can I get a motion? Everyone's so intent to stare
I move
down.
to approve the proposed regulatory text for Title 16, CCR Section 998, as set forth in Attachment 1, and direct staff to submit the text to the Director of the Department of Consumer Affairs and the Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency for review. If the board does not receive any objections or adverse recommendations specifically directed at the proposed action or to the procedures followed by the board in proposing or adopting this action, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to initiate the rulemaking process, make any non-substantive changes to the package, and set the matter for a hearing if requested. If no objections or adverse recommendations are received during the 45-day comment period and no hearing is requested, authorize the executive officer to take all steps necessary to complete the rulemaking and adopt the proposed regulations at Section 998 as noticed.
Thank you very much, Vice President Fairley. Do we have a second?
I say.
I heard. All right. We have a second from Member Munoz.
Can I ask a question on
Oh, yes.
this just real quick? This was February of 2024 that we looked at this. I know there were some other concerns that we had regarding how this may be further amended. Can this be amended easily in the future?
The fees?
No, more the general look of the resolution, the whole resolution here. There was some other thing we were going to look at legally on this, as I recall. And I don't have my notes here. But this can be modified relatively easily? Or we have to
No.
come back to the board?
Yeah, it's regulations, so.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Shows
Okay.
a lot in your notes.
All right. Let's open up for public comment. And do any members of the public wish to comment on this motion? Okay, seeing none, may we have a roll call vote?
Callie Mayfam?
Yes.
Tanya Fairley?
Yes.
Danielle Munoz?
Yes.
Megan Ellis?
Yes.
Kelly Funk?
Yes.
Reese Isbell?
Yes.
Dr. Yolanda Jimenez?
Yes.
Tamika Miller?
Yes.
Steve Weeks?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we have arrived at that time. Agenda item number 18, we now invite public comment on items not on the agenda. Do any members of the public wish to speak on items not on the agenda? All right. I'm not seeing anyone come forward. Is that a no today? Okay. All right, seeing none. Okay, I'm going to close public comment on items not on the agenda. I'm going to move on to agenda item number 19, suggestions for future agenda items. Yes.
So I wanted to bring to the board's attention that for our future agenda items, we are entering the world of sunset. Yes. We will begin our sunset. Actually, Carrie and I have already started looking at starting to prepare our report. We will get our formal request for the sunset report to be submitted. We should get that request in June of 2025. So 2025 will be the year of developing and approving the sunset review report. For those of you, pretty much everybody gets the sunset report. It was about this big last time. So it is going to be a lot of work for staff, so keeping that in mind as we get into 2025. We have already set up a time frame. The preliminary report we hope to bring to the board in August of next year, and then a final report, hopefully for approval at the board meeting, at this board meeting next year. It will be due in January to the committees, and then we'll have a hearing in 2026. Early spring, probably. That's when we will go testify in front of the Sunset Review Committee. So, and then from there, the legislative process starts. So I do think in our next meeting, which is in February, we should probably talk about new items, because sunset, not only is sunset the time when we talk about what we've done for the last 5 years, but it also is when we can talk about what we feel we need to change legislatively. I am going to be recommending we look deeply at the esthetician scope of practice and what other states are doing. We've already talked about that on one of our committees. So we'll be bringing that to one of our committees. We're looking at every other state's and you know, we may or may not want to put something in our sunset report about that, but sunset is the time where we could make recommendations for improvements to our statutes as well. And so 2020, it's just, you know, it's already November. I know. So time's coming, and so I just wanted to let you all know that to get ready.
All right, any other suggestions from other board members for future agenda items they would like to see? Okay.
Is this where I ask again about the committee meetings being placed on?
She's going to do that anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just checking.
It's already done.
All right, okay.
Got it.
So we're all...
And thank you for the 10 o'clock.
Good.
Yeah.
I know, that worked out in everybody's favor, huh?
All right, everyone. So just before we end, I just want to, so again, our next main board meeting, so we might have committee meetings before then, but our next board meeting will be February 10th, 2025 in Sacramento. I also want to point out that we will be doing elections at that time, so the next president gets to handle sunset. So think about it. Reach out to Christy for more information. Feel free to reach out to me. I just want to put that on everyone's radar. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of your year. Happy holidays, and I will now adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.